Today, I wanted to chat a little bit about the Royal Bank announcement that they're giving employees preferred pricing. On some level, I find this a little bit humorous because it seems like kind of the classic marketing gimmick where someone thinks they're getting something and they're not really getting anything, but because of how it's packaged and how it's designed, that someone feels good about whatever it is they have. So, um, Royal Bank is kind of the first lender to come to the marketplace, which is a very competitive marketplace. Residential mortgages, in particular, are very, very competitive. Consumers, all they care about, rightfully so, one of the things that they should care about is the interest rate that they're paying, and so that's kind of our whole industry competes on interest rate when there's actually some other things that we could be competing on. But that aside, Royal Bank is the first lender to come out to the marketplace to say, hey, we're going to give employees preferred pricing for any of the mortgages that they switch in from other lenders to us. So if you work at Royal Bank, but you have a mortgage with TD Bank, because maybe you got it a few years ago, that Royal Bank will let you switch the mortgage in and will give you preferred pricing. If this sounds familiar, it's because the auto industry started doing it years ago when I think it was GM and Ford and Chrysler, actually, maybe not Ford, were having troubles selling cars, and so one of the incentives is that they gave an incentive to their employees and called it employee pricing. So now we see employee pricing on mortgages for the banks, and I chuckle because it's creative. I mean, it's an interesting way to stimulate activity, to drive some sales volume, to push the numbers for Royal Bank. So it looks like they're doing lots of business. The price wars in the market, though, are very real. And so this is interesting because Royal Bank tends not to be the best priced in the marketplace. In fact, you don't need to take my word for it. If you go to the Financial Post, I think there's one article in particular, there's probably a few articles on this, but there's one article in particular where Royal Bank employees or people that have worked for Royal Bank will affirm what I've just said, that it's nice that they're giving employees some preferred pricing, but all that really means is that the employees are getting the same price that everybody else in the market at other banks are getting. So this interest rate issue in the marketplace is very real. Everyone wants to know that they're getting the best interest rates. Banks need to be creative in how they attract new business. But the truth is there's actually lots of ways to get good interest rates, and you don't necessarily need to be an employee of the bank to make that happen. As many of you might know, there's lots of websites in Canada that will lay out for you all of the interest rates from all of the banks and kind of show you how each of them are different. You've got brokers in the marketplace that use their commissions to buy down interest rates. Banks run specials like the 30-day close or the 90-day close, where if you get a mortgage because you're closing on a property in the next 30 days, they'll give you a bit of a discount. So there's just so many different ways to get a really great interest rate that good on Royal Bank for giving their employees some preferred pricing. If I was any one of their employees, I still want to make sure that I am in fact getting the best rate that's in the marketplace. And how do you do that, right? That's always the question. Many times people will say, whether they're looking for a business loan or a commercial mortgage or a mortgage for their home, they'll end up saying, okay, what's the best rate I can get today? And then a banker or a broker or a specialist will say, well, why don't you tell me a little bit about your credit, tell me your credit score, how much money do you make, etc. So the first step, I think, is to know where do you fit in the market. Are you an excellent credit risk? Are you a good credit risk? Are you a fair credit risk? Because once you know kind of where you fit on that spectrum, then you can approach a bank or a broker or a specialist and say, look, I've got great credit, I've worked out my income and my debts, and I know that I'm a good borrower for a bank, and so now help me understand who's offering the rates in the marketplace, why are you telling me that maybe that's the rate I should be going with, are there any incentives that you're being given to show me that rate? And it's important to know that you'd never really know if you've got the best rate. I guess just to use the auto industry as the comparison, how do you know you've really got the best car in the market? Well, it's kind of subject to, right? If you're an SUV guy, and you really like imports, you're going to have a different opinion versus somebody who drives a pickup truck and really likes domestic. Interest rates with Canadian banks kind of all work the same thing. At the end of the day, you're going to get a mortgage with a really great rate on it, much like getting a vehicle that has wheels and an engine and can drive down the road. But do you know you got the best rate? Well, it depends. Mortgages all offer different features. For example, there are things called the no-frills mortgage, where you can't make any principal payments, you can't make changes to your payments, you can't pay out the mortgage unless you've sold the property, and you'll get a really great rate for that mortgage, but it comes at the cost of some of the other things that you might want to see in your mortgage. So at the end of the day, I think there's just too many variables and incentives to know that someone can confidently say, I have the best rate. I think what you want to make sure is that you've got a competitive rate and that some of the other features that you would be looking for have been addressed in your mortgage. So like anything, make sure that you know your options